Welcome to Razzball Radio on the Fantasy Sports Network, and this is our brand new studios. Check this out. Okay, it's not. It's a hotel room, and don't ask me where I am because I'm not really sure. I've been actually outside in the horrible humidity of the deep south the last couple days, sweating so much that you actually have to chisel the salt out of my shirts at the end of the day. Sure, probably too much information, but you know what? This is real tales from the road here, people. This is not baloney. This is the real dirt of what's going on. So let's do a quick recap, actually, of what's going on, where we've been, what's happening. Then we're going to get to some fantasy news. Of course, tomorrow we are in Tampa where we will have another draft. This is a scheduled road day, but we're still on target. 32 drafts, 32 days, 32 pro football cities. So I have been through 11 states, some more than once, believe it or not. In fact, today I actually did 4 states. Did Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and I'm somewhere in the Florida panhandle. Don't ask me where. I thought there'd be palm trees. No, it's kind of foresty, so it doesn't feel like I'm in Florida, but apparently that's where I am. So we've been through 11 states. I have been through 2 Border Patrol inspections, absolutely. And this is actually a funny story. So I'm Canadian, and I'm here completely legally on a work permit. What happened was I was going along the border, right along the border between El Paso and West, or I guess El Paso is West Texas, but El Paso on the way to Dallas. And I come at night to this huge Border Patrol station, and I roll up, and the guys are there, and the dogs are out, and they're doing their job and doing a fine job at it. And I roll up. And, of course, I'm preparing the questions in my head to say, okay, I'm Canadian, but I have, my work visa and blah, 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 and so I'm getting all ready. So I roll up. The guy's looking at me, give me that tough glare, big guy, tough guy. And he is. I ain't messing with him. So I roll the truck up. Lots of people behind me. There was a lot of traffic. And what happened was that I'm rolling up. And the guy looks at me and he goes, "Are you an American citizen?" And I'm just about to say actually, but as I'm getting the actually out, he goes, "Wait, what? What is this? What?" So I tell him what we're doing. We're driving across the country doing all these fantasy tours. I was there for 6 minutes. He says, "I have the first overall pick. Should I take McCoy?" I'm like, "Absolutely, you should take McCoy." And then he wanted strategies for his second and third round pick. Was I going to say no to the man with the authoritative position? Of course I wasn't. So absolutely. But 6 minutes I was there at the Border Patrol. So I've been through 2 Border Patrol stops. Oh, here's another one, and this happened in Dallas. There was a gentleman, a Vietnam veteran. This is a true story. The guy was still in shape, although he said he was 70, but he looked pretty in shape. And we were talking, and he said, "Hey, where are you guys going? Where are you from?" I said, "Well, I'm originally from Canada." He goes, "I used to live in Canada." I said, "Oh, yeah? What did you do?" He says, "I was a stripper. Would you like me to do a show for your show?" 100% true. Man, did we laugh that day. That's when we did the Dallas show. Of course, you can catch up on all the shows we did at razzballradio.com or watch them live on the Fantasy Sports Network 2 and 5:30 p.m. Eastern every day. And this month, while we're doing the whole tour, we're also on the weekends, 32 straight days of show. I also had a guy who came up to me actually today in West Florida and walked right up, looked at the truck. He's staring at it for a minute. I was on the phone. I was waiting to get off. Hop out of the truck. I come on. The guy's, he's like looking, reading the truck, and he says to me, he goes, "Do you know a good website where I can get some fantasy football rankings?" Read the truck. Razzball.com. Of course, you can get all your football rankings at Razzball.com. Jay Wrong, our phenomenal editor over on the football side, Jay Longfellow, but you can follow him on Twitter at Jay Wrong. Okay. Let's talk a little bit of news. Here's what's been going on around the NFL. Again, sorry for trying to make the background entertaining. We move around, dance around. I won't do a strip show though. I'll leave that for the gentleman in Dallas. Okay. Torrey Holt has been at all the Rams practices this year. He's been watching the team. Of course, he is Rams legend, one of the greatest wide receivers of all time as far as I'm concerned, Torrey Holt. And he actually said on St. Louis radio yesterday that Tavon Austin is looking quiet. That is not a good sign from the 8th overall pick in the NFL draft last year. Obviously, you want to see this guy develop his talent. I've been a little bit bullish on the St. Louis offense. I think there's a lot of opportunity there, a lot of upside. I'm not huge on Zach Stacy, but they've just been drafting so many weapons. The fallout of the RG3 trade, they've been moving up and down the draft board, making some really good picks. That defense is going to be outstanding, but they need Tavon Austin to be a player. Currently, his ADP is 47. That's going around Hakeem Nicks, Kelvin Benjamin, and Justin Hunter. Quite frankly, I'd rather have all 3 of those guys over not Torrey. I'll take Torrey Hill. If Torrey Hill comes back, I'll take you. But over Tavon Austin, I'd rather have all three of those guys. Hakeem Nicks, obviously the injury questions, but obviously big-time upside with him in Indianapolis. Kelvin Benjamin, again, apparently he has been a monster in camp. And if you go back, if you haven't seen it yet, look at that touchdown catch. He only had the one catch, but it was a beautiful touchdown reception. He stumbled, recouped, put his arms out. It was beautiful. And Justin Hunter, I love Justin Hunter, been stumping him all year. So if that's what I'm looking at around there in ADP, that is who I'm going. Okay, up in Seattle land, Sealand, Paul Richardson, the second-round pick, has been turning heads in practice. He is a burner. Now, here's the thing. People are talking to me. I've even had some discussions in some dynasty leagues I'm in because I have Russell Wilson. I've been looking in some trade talks to upgrade other positions because Wilson's my backup right now. People keep saying, Seattle's a running team. Seattle's a running team. Seattle's a running team. Yes, they have been the last 3 years. There's no question. Since Marshawn Lynch there, that offensive line was one of the top units in the league, if not the best, at its peak. But here's the reality of the situation. They have so much money invested in so many different guys at this point that the line is not what it was. Marshawn Lynch, this is probably his last year, even though he got the next contract with Seattle, the extra year on his deal. I'm not saying he's done this year, but they're either going to save him for a playoff run. It's going to open up an opportunity for Kristen Michael. But I think what's going to happen is this is going to become more of a passing team. Russell Wilson has the capacity to do it. He is a very smart guy. He's actually a very good passer. People think of him as a scrambler, but he's so smart out there. If you really watch football, he's one of the smartest quarterbacks out there. So I think that there's a chance that this team becomes more balanced. Percy Harvin, of course, if he can stay healthy, can be a monster. It is a big if. I'm with you. I'm not telling you Percy Harvin is going to be the best player, best top wide receiver this year, but there is the upside, as well as for Curse and as well Richardson and Doug Baldwin. You might see that team turn into a more pass-oriented team. Don't tell me I'm crazy. I'm telling you, it is a possibility. Okay, I am somewhere in Florida. I don't know where, but one thing I do know is that I always lock up my league fees for free with Draft. Talk about DraftKings later. Sportsvault.net. It is an absolutely free service. There is no charge for it. They collect your league fees, redistribute it at the end of the year. Sportsvault.net. We'll be right back. This is Razzball Radio Fantasy Sports Network, back from the hotel room studios in a moment.
I was never one for traditional dating, which is why I like to meet guys on ArrangementFinders.com. Arrangement Finders puts a twist on dating that works so well, they guarantee you'll find a girl. That's right, guarantee. Sounds too good to be true? Check out these girls on ArrangementFinders.com who are looking to date. She's hot. She's hot. Okay, her, not so much. Anyway, it's free to join. Go to Arrangement Finders and meet girls like me who know what you really want.
Welcome back to the Hotel Room Studios. This is Razzball Radio on the Fantasy Sports Network. I am somewhere in Florida. Lost, but hopefully not forgotten. Hopefully you're following us. You can follow me on Twitter at Nick Capozzi, NickCapozzi. You can watch me slowly lose my mind via Twitter. Of course, I am only tweeting when I am stopped at a truck stop. Okay, let's get to some more news. Lots going on. There was actually quite a bit in the news today. Jeremy Hill. Interesting guy. Love to have him in Dynasty and Keeper leagues. Obviously, Gio Bernard is an athletic freak. He's going to tote the ball a lot this year. There's no question of that. But I think when Hill got picked, especially as high as he did, there was a lot of buzz that he was going to come in and swoop the goal line carries. Basically did what Ben Jarvis Green Ellis did the last couple of years in Cincinnati. But the word out of the Bengals camp is that actually Gio Bernard is going to get quite a few goal line carries. Now, if that is the case, he could be a monster. He's already going as the 10th running back off the board. And if he really genuinely is getting opportunities and is going to get some goal line touches, that could actually go a couple notches higher. I'm not going to put him past DeMarco Murray. But if there's a guy this year kind of in that 10 to 12 range that could shoot up the board, it is Gio Bernard, also Andre Ellington. Very similar players, and I like both situations there, and especially in Cincinnati, the opportunity for Bernard because Hugh Jackson, of course, is now the offensive coordinator there, so there is the opportunity for him to run the ball more, which would be very exciting if you are a fan of Gio Bernard. Up in Steel Country in Pittsburgh, news out of Pittsburgh's camp is that Marcus Whedon, third-round pick a couple years ago, he's battled injury. Last year, third-round pick, battled injury problems, had like 60-something yards last year. We didn't see much out of him, but he has been turning heads. Interesting guy to watch. Currently, he's going as the 63rd wide receiver off the board. Now, in and around that area, you've got rookie Odell Beckham of the Giants. Spoke about him a couple days ago. I like him. I like his upside. I think the Giants are going to have a much better passing attack this year. Also in that area is Andre Holmes, who's been a lot of buzzy pick. We've been talking about him a lot. Of course, we talked about him when we were with Ryan Schellink from Razzball up in Sonoma County when he did the Raiders report. So if you're asking me between Wheaton, Holmes, and Odell Beckham, I would probably put Wheaton the third of that group. I'm actually surprised Wheaton is going that high. Maybe it's because Steelers Nation is so big. But I would rather have the other two guys because I think there's a closer opportunity for those two guys to succeed. Again, Andre Holmes and Odell Beckham. Okay, Devonta Freeman of the Atlanta Falcons. I like this guy a lot. I was surprised that he, in the rookie dynasty draft that we did a couple days ago in Phoenix, fell all the way to the second round. Yeah, my cousin Ryan got him, by the way. He scooped him from me, you son of a gun. He actually was pulled out of Falcons camp the other day because of heat exhaustion. Not much to worry about there, but keep an eye on it because this is a guy who should be going higher. He is the 45th running back off the board right now. And here's the logic. Steven Jackson has a lot of wear and tear on his body. He's one of those big bruising backs, and those guys don't age well. Running backs that actually kind of go past that 29, 30-year-old range, usually they're more scat backs types, more compact players, or guys who, didn't get as much opportunity like Fred Jackson, of course, took a different route to the NFL. But Steven Jackson has a ton of miles on his body. He is always hurt. His hammies are like pulled pork. So Devonta Freeman could not only wind up being the starter in Atlanta this year just based on skill, but of course if Steven Jackson goes down, he's going to have a lot of opportunities. And with defenses having to cover that passing attack with Roddy White, who I think is going to come back, have a very nice year, should be going around fourth round, which is where I see him going this year. And Julio Jones, of course, if he stays healthy, could be a big year for Matt Ryan, and that whole offense could open up some big running lanes. Be curious to see what they do without Tony Gonzalez there. But there's the opportunity for Freeman to take that starting job at some point and run away with it, I think. So he, as the 45th running back off the board, I think there's more upside there than you're going to find typically out of that position. Interesting story out of LA today. Magic Johnson actually said he thinks the NFL is going to be back in LA within the next 2 years. I know it's not fantasy relevant, but I'm curious to see. It'd be great to have a team back in Los Angeles. Obviously, the league hasn't suffered. It's USC country. I mean, that's pretty much their pro team. But it'd be great to have a team back in Los Angeles. And wouldn't it be ironic if it's the Raiders or the Rams, the two teams being talked about the most? Mark Davis, owner of the Raiders, son of the late, great Al Davis, actually has had conversations with the NFL about potentially moving the team. So wouldn't it be funny if one of those two teams wound up back in L.A.? I'd love to see a team back in L.A., if for no other reason that there's not enough traffic in L.A. on Sunday. So to me, it's just a good fit. Jeremy Maclin has been killing it at practice. Now, it's preseason, and Darrelle Revis isn't going full hog. But right now, the Eagles are practicing with the New England Patriots, and he apparently is just dusting Darrelle Revis. Now, with Maclin, it always comes back to the injuries, but the upside there is massive. If he's not going to take the same role that Deshaun Jackson had because they're different types of receivers. Maclin is more of a, I don't want to call him a possession receiver because that's not really fair, but he's not the real take the top off the defense burner that Deshaun Jackson is. He's kind of somewhere in between. But if Maclin, especially in the red zone, go back and look at his numbers a couple years ago, he is a great red zone threat. A lot of opportunity there for him to take that job and run with it this year. So if he really is healthy and he can keep those knees healthy, Jeremy Maclin could drastically outperform his ADP. Currently the 29th receiver off the board. I know you know what ADP means, by the way, but it's average draft position. And when I'm talking about it in terms of player categories, of course, I'm referring to where they're going out of their position group. Now, Jeremy Maclin, again, 29th, that's where Marcus Colston and Eric Decker, I'm going to talk about Eric Decker in a couple minutes, but that's where Colston and Decker are currently going. I would rather have Maclin by far out of that group. again, I will get to Decker, but Colston always with the injuries. That is nothing new. But if Macklin can stay healthy, of course, big if, it's not crazy. He could be a top 15, maybe even top 12, 13 wide receiver this year. Another guy to keep an eye on, and no one's talking about this guy, is Riley Cooper. And I know it's easy to not like the guy. Trust me, I completely understand. You don't want to like Riley Cooper. But you know what? He missed a lot of time last year. When he was healthy, he had over 800 yards, 8 touchdowns, a couple of really big games there. You know, someone's got to catch the ball in that offense. They're going to run it a ton to set up the passing game, but when they do, could be one of those two guys. Go get Macklin, get Cooper late. I'm seeing Cooper sometimes not get drafted on this tour. I kid you not. Okay, if you want to play daily fantasy with us, you're going to be able to do that every Sunday. DraftKings.com. Enter promo code Razzball. Best way to play daily fantasy is with DraftKings. This is Razzball Radio, Fantasy Sports Network, the Hotel Room Edition. We'll be back right after this.
I was never one for traditional dating, which is why I like to meet guys on arrangementfinders.com. Arrangement Finders puts a twist on dating that works so well, they guarantee you'll find a girl. That's right, guarantee. Sounds too good to be true? Check out these girls on arrangementfinders.com who are looking to date. She's hot. She's hot. Okay, her, not so much. Anyway, it's free to join. Go to Arrangement Finders and meet girls like me who know what you really want.
Welcome back to Razzball Radio on the Fantasy Sports Network. I want to mention, too, when I was in New Orleans yesterday, by the way, if you're just finding this for the first time, go back, watch that New Orleans show from yesterday. That was a lot of fun because not only did I get to go out there and get some great shots in New Orleans, I got to eat the food. It was amazing. It is by far the best food I've had. Gas station food isn't delicious? Yeah. Man, there has been so much gas station food. That and Starbucks. I love you, Starbucks. Right now, you're keeping this show on the road. I kid you not. Okay, let us talk some more fantasy football. Oh, what I was going to say, when I was in New Orleans, I failed to mention our sugar daddy of the day, brought to you by ArrangementFinders.com, the player who's going to grossly outperform their ADP, their draft position this year on that team. And on the States, it is going to be Brandon Cooks. Big year for the rookie. I know it takes a little time for wide receivers to transition, but they're playing more pro-style offenses in college. Brandon Cooks, New Orleans, going to have a big year. Someone's got to get that yardage in New Orleans. I think it's going to be him. All right, back to the news. So, Arian Foster and Andre Johnson are both back. Do we care? No. You want nothing to do with the Texans. You want to kick the Texans to the curb. Do not invest in the Houston. If I give you one piece of advice this year, it's don't invest in that Houston offense. Of course, watch Andre Johnson go like 1,800 yards and 18 touchdowns. It's not going to happen because Ryan Fitzpatrick is not a good quarterback. Case Keenum is not a good quarterback. Wouldn't it be ironic? Now, if you're an NFL team and you have the first pick in the draft and Jadeveon Clowney is staring at you, you have to take him. And this Johnny Manziel, Johnny Football Buzz, it's taken kind of the news by storm lately. Look, I think Johnny Manziel has a chance to be a pretty darn good NFL quarterback. I don't know that he's going. I don't think he's a boomer bust. Some people are kind of considering him a boomer bust. He's a pretty bright guy, even though he doesn't always show it. Very mobile. But I will tell you this: he's not a guy that I would like on any of my teams this year. But wouldn't it be ironic if he blows up and becomes a superstar? I think Clowney will be too. I think Clowney is going to be a star in the NFL. But, man, did the Texans need a quarterback? They're going to stink this year. They're going to be absolutely terrible. Over-under on wins for them is 7.5. I am buying that under 7 days. Actually, I'm buying it 32 days in a row. How do you like that? How do you like them apples? Okay. We talked earlier about Eric Decker in New York. Now, he moves from the high-powered, high-octane offense, mile-high, sky-high, high-octane offense of Denver to the Jets. And you know what? I can see the air deflating out of the balloon. Now, here's something that's interesting. Eric Decker this year, his ADP among expert rankers, by the way, I'm not an expert ranker. I just talk about this stuff, okay, just so we're clear. You want experts, go to Razzball.com. But he's going in the 30s as the 30th-ish wide receiver off the board. This guy is falling so far in the leagues that I'm participating in. Just the regular Joe leagues. I'm shocked at how low this guy is going. But look, someone's got to catch the ball in New York. And Geno Smith, I'm not saying he's very good, but I don't know yet. I'm not saying he's a bust either. I need to see him another year in that offense. I don't think Michael Vick is going to get a chance to get any playing time other than maybe in some specialized packages. But Eric Decker, I think, if Geno Smith can get him the ball, he's a very good – you know what? He's kind of an elite possession receiver. Had over 1,200 yards last year with Denver, but there was so many mouths to feed there. I easily see a 1,000-yard season out of him. And you know what? Maybe 8, 9, 10 touchdowns. That puts him 4th, 5th round value. And right now, again, in these Joe leagues, he's going 9th round to 12th round, which is mind-blowing to me. Eric Decker is a guy. Don't sleep on him this year. Could have a big year. Okay. Gronk. I love Gronk. When he's healthy, he is as exciting as a player or as a pass catcher as I've ever seen in the NFL. Love Mr. Gronkowski. Now, he's already questionable for week 1. I've seen him go in the 2nd round. Don't do that. I've seen him go in the 3rd round. Maybe. He's not on any of my teams this year. And the reason why, he's got a leg brace. He's got an arm brace. He looks like the $6 million man, except the problem is he's the $53 million man. That's the problem. So I'm not buying Gronk at all this year. Already questionable for week 1. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? It's kind of hard to have an argument with myself. So I'm having an argument with you, viewer, if you like Gronkowski. I like them apples. Okay. Mentioned earlier, Kelvin Benjamin of the Carolina Panthers, just ripping it up in camp. He's currently the 45th wide receiver off the board. I have a feeling after a couple of more preseason games, that is going to shoot up. This guy's got the chance to be special. There's a lot of talk how he's so raw, and these were fair questions. I mean, he was not the number 1 wide receiver off the board in the draft by far this year, but if he can kind of show the flashes he showed again, it was just one game. Keep in mind, it was just one game, but you see the skill. Some guys you just need to see 1 or 2 times, and you're like, my goodness gracious, that guy's got it. So I think he's going to move up. I think probably by the end of the season, he might be in that 30-ish range among wide receivers, which would put him around Golden Tate and Julian Edelman. Now, if Gronk is healthy, I do not like Edelman at all. Even if Amendola's not there. I'm just not an Edelman guy. I kind of don't really believe it. Golden Tate's also going around that same ADP. And this is in the 30s. Kelvin Benjamin right now is going 45th among wide receivers. So Kelvin Benjamin, a guy I think is going to shoot up the draft boards. So keep that in mind, especially in Dynasty Keeper Leagues, guys. After, kind of Mike Evans and Sammy Watkins, that's a guy you need to consider drafting, Kelvin Benjamin. Okay, big year in store for him. I think. Still raw, but, man, listen, you want to talk about raw? Jimmy Graham was raw. The guy was a basketball player. He had 1 year of football experience. Jimmy Graham has had 11, 9, and 16 touchdowns in his 3 years in the NFL. So sometimes raw players can produce. All right, real quick on the defensive front, Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu of the Arizona Cardinals, he's off the PUP list. That's good news for AZ, obviously, because they sure as heck could use him. Now, Arizona's defense was fantastic last year. Still kind of like him this year. I was actually having a conversation with Gabe Morency of the Fantasy Sports Network today, and we were talking about over-under on team wins. I think Mathieu coming back could absolutely help Arizona, but I think the problem here is that losing the 2 linebackers, especially with that Washington suspension, it's going to be tough for them to recover from. 7.5 is the over-under on wins. I'm barely taking that. All right, this is Razzball Radio. This is Fantasy Sports Network. This is the road day. I'm on the road. This is the hotel show. It's the last hotel show. By the way, every other city, I hope, I'm going to have co-hosts with me, so it'll be no more of the Nick Show. Although, hey, listen, maybe it's not so bad. I don't know. You tell me. Follow me on Twitter, @NickCapozzi, NickCapozzi. I see you in Tampa Bay.